women's safety, and some men are just, but man, it's not all men. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why you gotta say it's all men? It's not all men. It's not me. You know what I mean?
So how you think you did on those other debates you were on?
Um, it was just random debates, like this dog debate. It's just random, but I think I did pretty good.
Well, you said about women's safety. So what about women's safety?
Well, yeah. So some women, they obviously some have trauma from what men have done to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they just don't want to move on from what they experienced from the past, so they just a little more cautious of what men are. They just have a different uh, look on what men do and stuff. So yeah, they just change what they feel about men. It's
Right.
crazy because they say it's all men, but I don't feel like it is. But
Those women who tell you that it's all men, do you think those women have engaged in intimate relationships
oh,
with men before?
of course,
Do you think
I
they're
feel
still
like.
currently engaging in those relationships with men?
Oh wait, no, I feel like most of them are single and they don't want to be with men. I feel like some of them just have trauma, that with past experience.
Uh huh.
Uh, some of them just generally just hate men, and like there was this one. There's multiple panels like this. They say the same thing, but there's just one particular woman. She's in a panel and she's just bringing up men, and then she wanted to explain what it means. She just have them and just the men are like, can you explain your panel? And they're like, why would I have to explain it to you?
Right.
I'm like, so is this trauma? Like you can tell, it's a woman that's clearly been through something, um, but yeah, it's a lot going on with this topic.
Yeah. Well, I firmly believe, and I know for a fact that if you really and truly were afraid or you needed to be aware of men, then you wouldn't put yourself in spaces where men are. Right. And if it's one thing that we need to know about history in the United States of America is that any space that is solely men, women sued for the right to be there. So they found it to be discriminatory that women weren't being hired in those places. So if these are the guys who you're identifying have a history from the beginning of mankind of being the number one threat to you to the point of where you feel unsafe, why, when they kept you away from them, would you ever go to court to say, we have the right to be in their presence?
Right, right.
Right.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's an excellent point because over the fact that you're contradicting yourself. Because when those guys said, hey, we want to do this only for us, take sports, for example, right? Sports is going to be gender based. So if it's football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, tennis, hockey, whatever, softball, these are things that women can perform in those sports as well. Nevertheless, it's broken up to men and women.
Right.
However, the places where it's men, who supports it? Do women support men's sports more or do they support women's sports more?
Do men support women's sports more?
No, I'm asking, do women support men's sports more or do they support women's sports more?
I mean, I feel like it depends on what sport it is, really, but I'd say women support women's sports.
Yeah. So when is the last time a WNBA game has been sold out?
Shit, I don't even know.
Right, exactly. So they don't support it. They don't, right? They support men's sports. They support men's sports. It's okay to say the truth. It's not like trickery, it's not a guess. They support
No,
men's
because
sports.
I don't really know what women watch nowadays. Like, I don't even know if they watch that much sports. Really, I don't even be paying attention.
Well, whether you know what they watch or not, you know they're in attendance in the arena, in the stadium, in the Coliseum. They're there. There's mothers there, there's wives there, there's girlfriends there. There's just women in attendance supporting. They're paying for the price of admission to be at the games. They're enjoying the games. When it's All-Star weekend in the NBA, women are traveling, going from wherever it is that they live to get down to the actual city where this event is going to be held, right? So they're not showing any actual fare in real life. Yes, you're coming on the internet and you're
Dang, bro, I
exposing
just
yourself
went in the live and
to
you
more
already
people.
invited me in.
Well, thank you for joining. So they're
Yeah,
not going into places where there's no men there. They're going into places where it's more
that's the wrong choice.
men
Nigger,
than
nigger, nigger, nigger,
actual
nigger, nigger,
attendance.
nigger, 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 fuck you, nigger, fuck you, nigger, fuck you, nigger, 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 nigger.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what they do. They just go into spaces where there's men. They're never going to not want to be around men. And the bottom line is that even with women who engage in relationships with other women, one of them is going to be presenting themselves in a masculine fashion, right?
Right, right.
And then when they're all alone and nobody's present, they engage in activity and somebody there has to replicate a man. They indulge themselves with the anatomy of a man. Harmony says I'm wrong, but where's Harmony at? If Harmony says I'm wrong, where's Harmony at? Here. I mean, is it? I don't see how you could be afraid of people, but then you make yourself more accessible to them. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Harmony's in America. Harmony's asking afraid. Afraid of what? No, we're talking about women saying that they need to be afraid of men or they should be a fear of men. Everybody goes out in the morning or in the afternoon and they go to the mall, they go to Target, they go to Walmart, they go to the store, they go to the Burke, they go to school, they go on campus, they drive down the highway. I mean, these are just the things of what it is that we do with people. And nobody's like, and swerving off the road because it's a guy who comes in the lane next to them. They're going their way. You know what I'm saying, Harmony? This is what it is that people are doing. So yeah, people are pretending on the internet as if they're actually afraid of someone, but they're not exhibiting that fear. They're going on vacations, they're going on airplanes, they're sitting next to a man, in front of a man, behind a man. The pilot is a man. They get their bags checked by a man. So where's the actual fear? Where is it really at? But it makes for good talk, I guess. I guess it makes for a good conversation to say that you're afraid because you'll find people who are going to indulge in that nonsense. But that's why this guy's here to talk to them about it. Get my guy Enzo up in here. That's what it is that they do. Talk pure nonsense. So, this is the reason why we encourage everybody to think about what it is that's going on. Because what it is that's going on is deception, trickery, tomfoolery, as some would say. It's all ways to get you jammed up. It's not about anything. They'll play games with you. They'll take advantage of your insecurities because some people do have a past. Some people have a past, they have a traumatic experience. So they'll find a space and there's somebody there like this guy. And he knows how to play on your emotions. And that's what he's going to do. And he can't help himself because that's what he's paid to do. So there's a lot of content creators out there. There's a lot of hosts out there. There's a lot of individuals out there where that's what they do. They're there just to solely look like what you see. Red nose, painted face, orange hair, green bow tie, suspenders, plaid pants, and some big old red shoes. We call that a bozo, a goofy, a clown, a doofus. I don't know, there's a lot of words you could use. An imbecile, right? But see, this guy gets paid for what it is that he's doing. He doesn't act like this in his real life, but unfortunately, the ones who are saying what it is that he's saying here in this prompt, they are saying it in real life. Yeah, check it out. Welcome everybody. Join the live, share the live. Come up on the panel. Request to come up. We got some time today. Don't be afraid. Speak your mind. Do you agree with that? Have you said that? Have you said this before? If you've said it before, who did you say it to and why? Is it true? That's what we need to think about. Is it true? Is it really all men till it's no man? Are you currently sleeping with men? But yet you're saying you have a fear of men. It's men's fear. Be afraid. Men. Men are out here. Those of you on TikTok that's watching, those of you on YouTube, YT, that's watching, speak your mind. Join the panel. That's what it is. Don't be afraid. Prompt is right there. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. There's nothing wrong with having your views and your opinions and your thoughts. Matter of fact, maybe you have some evidence. Maybe studies have shown that this is correct. Go ahead, speak. You know? And a lovely evening. Oh, that's my guy right there. What's going on with you? Her lovable lose? Lovable loss? I didn't catch that name properly. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the night. What are we talking about? We are talking about talking points. No problem. Enjoy your food. Hopefully it's something satisfying you having. Sure, no doubt. Look forward to you. We had another brother on here. We're scrolling through. Some people get, I don't know, they get a bit nervous. I'm not a guy who likes to cut people off or mute. I want to have a conversation. It's okay, you know. That's what you're supposed to do. Everybody in here is an adult. You're supposed to be able to have some form of articulatable points that you can make. And go ahead and express it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Say what you think to be true and back it up. Because he's backing it up. He's got the whole audience. The whole audience to himself to entertain a one-man band, a one-man show. And he wants the world to know. Ladies, check it out. He's going to tell you why. It's all men until it's no men. That's what it is he's discussing. And what do you think about that? Do you agree wholeheartedly? Yes, I agree. I support that message. That's what it's up there for. Do you agree that it is all men until it's no man? Have you said these words before? Has somebody said it to you and you were, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's true. I think we need to do things better. What do we need to do? And what exactly are you doing about it? Let the world know. Let the world know what's on your mind. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Just a chill guy. He's a Ravens fan. Ravens. Just a chill guy. Question: why don't the Ravens wear throwback jerseys? Do you know the answer to that question? Just a chill guy. Why the Ravens don't wear throwback jerseys? Step right up, folks. We're gonna treat this like it's a carnival. See the clown right there. Some of y'all have tried to sink the clown, throwing the softball or the baseball at the target, and the clown is in the big bucket sitting above the water. And if you hit the target, the clown falls into the water. So sink the clown tonight. That clown right there, dunk the clown. He wants to tell the women tonight, he wants to tell the ladies why it's all men until it's no men. And those are true words spoken by a clown. In my estimation, the only one who would say that is a clown. So, why is that? Or do you disagree? Do you think sophisticated minded people would say this? Kalania, good evening. How are you? Not sure what time it is in the part of the world where you're at, but how you doing? What do you think about that, Kay? What do you think about that prompt? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Hmm? Who's that? Collins? Colin McQueen? What do you think about that prompt? You agree? You disagree? What do you think? Should women be afraid of a man? After all these years living with men, sleeping with men, divorcing men, having children with men, giving birth to boys that become men, raising boys into a man. Should women be afraid of men? Matter of fact, should men be afraid of men? How was dinner?
What's good, brother?
Everything cool, man? How was dinner?
Really, for real, it's my lunch. I work nights, so.
Oh, wow.
But it was cool.
All right, that's good. What's your take on the prompt?
Uh, I had it explained to me differently than how I understood it. How they said it, I see it, but I still think it's, uh, what's the word?
Stupid?
It's counterproductive because the the statement is quick and to the point. It's all men until it's no man. Well, immediately that puts men on the defensive because if you've never been that man, then they're telling you yes you are. So immediately, any man who's not is going to look at that and say, "What you talking about?" They're gonna give you some pushback. But then once you actually engage in conversation, they'll tell you, "Well, it's not that it is all men; it's that we have to assume it's all men until it's no man."
Mm.
To which I say, if that's the point, then why don't you just say it like that? And we had a whole back and forth about why not just put it like that, but nobody gave me a viable reason as to why me putting it that way was a bad thing. And so I concluded, I'm like, y'all want conflict. That's what you want. You want conflict. And if that's what it is, then just say that. But you're trying to act like, oh, if I take offense to this, then that just proves the point and I'm part of the problem. No, you're literally putting something out there that's disingenuous because as soon as anyone asks you, you say what it really means. So what are you really doing with this particular statement or movement or whatever you want to call it?
So when you say they want conflict, who do they want conflict with?
Anybody who feels as though that statement is problematic because they're in their logic, if you see the statement as all men until it's no men and you have pushback, you're part of the problem. So male, female, red, blue, whatever, if you have a problem with the statement, they want that conflict. They want that conflict with you.
So they want conflict with men who they feel are out to harm them?
Conflict is part of the problem. But those men who are out to harm them, or it's the women who are defending the behavior, or it's the men that's not out to harm them, but also defending the behavior. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I don't know who's defending that behavior. I don't know who's realistically gonna defend harmful behavior of anyone. I just don't. I just can't see that. However,
Well,
the thing about it is that if you're really of the assumption that it's all men until it's no men, then you would seclude yourself from men. You're not going to go into spaces where it's men and fight for your right to be in those spaces and then be amongst men, especially in spaces where it is predominantly men, right? There are arenas that's not just uncommon and it's not just one of celebrity. There are arenas, there are fields, industries where it is overwhelmingly men, right? And if a woman was to apply for that job or career, but if she was to make an effort to want to be a part of that and she was to be disallowed, blocked, hindered, whatever the case may be, that would be discrimination. And as a matter of fact, women have even fought for the right or the opportunity, which is the better way of putting it, to be in those arenas because they felt they were being discriminated against because there were no women present. So they didn't even have the information that a woman applied and was denied. They're just going off of the fact that I don't see women there, so it must be discriminatory.
uh, well, that's certainly one way to look at it. I'm not. I can't say that that's the only way to look at it, right? Because as Black people, we existed in a time where we had to assume it was all white people. but we still fought for our rights to exist in those spaces that white people occupy. So even if you take that same stance that you're saying about women and apply it to black people, then we would still be huddled up in huts somewhere, not with no rights and no ability to go or do anything. Just because someone is going up against what seems to be insurmountable, dangerous odds does not mean that they should just be like, well, okay, this is my lot in life, and then just be resigned to. That's just not the human will in general. So I can't really say that just because.
I gotta disagree with you on that. You know why I gotta disagree with you on that? Because in the same family that you're born in, just like me, just like anybody else, men and women are born in those families. See, so we can point out a difference with somebody when it comes down to race or culture, whatever the case may be. But as far as the human experience is concerned, we're all born of the same household, the same families. There's not a family on the planet Earth without men and women in it. So there's no difference in that context. If we're going to use it as far as differences, then we would see that. Also, there's no history of black men saying black women can't drink out of this water fountain or they can't, there's no history there. So there's no reason for that. There's nothing to justify that animosity.
Well, there is. And so going back to what you said in the beginning about there being the difference. So of course there's no two situations that are identical. You'll always find situations that have differences, but that's why comparisons exist. If we did it on a one-to-one basis of every single aspect of it, you couldn't compare anything to anything else. So, but generally speaking, if we as black people saw white people as dangerous or potentially harmful to us, we should have never tried to venture into their spaces. And in the same vein, and like you said, yeah, there's plenty of all families have men in them, and a lot of those families do have harmful men in them. So some of these women are definitely speaking.
Are you saying you're saying more families on the planet Earth have harmful men in the families than not?
I did not say that. I just said some.
You said a lot. I'm trying to get an idea of what you mean by a lot.
I didn't say. Well, did I say a lot or did I say some?
No, you said a lot.
I probably did say. I probably said a lot. So
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking. Do you think that most families?
I was just waiting for him to get together before I continue.
Yeah, no, go on. You think most families on the planet Earth have harmful men in the families than not?
I, I don't think most. I think a lot.
What's a
And the
lot as
reason
far
why
as
I think
percentage? What would you
okay,
say a lot is?
just before we move forward, is this how the conversation is going to be? That like I can't speak on what I'm speaking on
No,
because I do want to have the conversation with you, brother. I really do.
but you speaking on what you're speaking on. Certain things you're saying, I'm asking for clarity so I can understand what you're saying. Because if you say a lot of men, how would I interpret that? But if you give me some context to what you mean by a lot, then I can fully understand what you're saying. Because I don't want you to talk and I don't get it, and I don't want to just be missing one another. You get what I'm saying? I'm
And
gonna intervene
I
to
think we
further
tend to do
understand.
this with generalizations, gentlemen. To those whom it does apply, those are the ones who are being talked about. Obviously, it's not everyone, but it's a moot point to go over because we are using a generalization.
Amaru,
It applies
Amaru,
to whom it applies.
Amaru,
Yeah.
Amaru, can I be allowed to make my own point, please?
Yeah, I
Oh, you
appreciate
know
that,
what?
sir.
Yeah,
But
you
let
can.
the brother finish. He was
So,
asking, to be able to speak. Go ahead.
um, so what I was saying was, I believe it's a lot. Before you said, well, what's a percentage? What I was about to say was that the reason why I feel it is a lot is because, and though it's in my own personal perspective, and I understand that it's anecdotal,
Mm-hmm.
but in my experience, I know a lot of women, and there are only a handful of them who have not experienced some type of abuse, and a lot of them, I'd say, if I were to put a percentage on that, I'd say a good 75 to 80% of them experienced something from men that they were either close to in their family or that they knew. It's very rare that it happened to them from somebody that was a complete stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know the statistics because that's not something I have off the top of my head.
Right.
But based on, again, my anecdotal evidence, that's how I see it.
Correct. Now, even with your anecdotal experience, when you're dealing with criminology, criminal behavior, when you're dealing with perverse behavior, the number one thing of what needs to take place for those type of ill behaviors towards someone is what?
I
The
have no idea. You would have to tell me. I'm
opportunity.
not sure exactly.
Opportunity. It's opportunity. So the opportunity presents itself the most by someone who feels a way, who has the means to do it. Now, we're not justifying their actions by no means, but we're saying that those type of things come about by opportunity. Can it happen on the bus? Yes. What's the likelihood of it happening on the bus? Slim to none. Can it happen in a house? Yes. What's the likelihood of it happening in the house? Much greater, because of the fact that in the house you have less witnesses, you have less response time, right? There are people who look to do things to individuals and they pick areas where individuals can't defend themselves. We see that every day. And they call them soft targets because everyone in that particular arena is in a space where they can't defend themselves. So now they know they have free reign, so to speak, to do whatever it is they want for however it is that they want to do it, right? So there's certain things that also come about by proximity. If I was to say right now, tonight, if I was to say to you, here are all of the people who've hurt my heart, 100% of them are going to be women. So if I say 100% of the people who hurt me were women, that's going to put women in a certain depiction because it's a fact that 100% of them were women. But the reality of the matter is the only people who've been able to hurt me have been women because I don't engage in those type of relationships with anyone else. So now I'm giving you statistics. I'm backing up what it is that I'm saying. What I'm saying is 100% accurate, but it can't be in the way of how it's really being used because it's very subjective. The subject of the actual acts are things that can only take place with people that are familiar to you. Because if not, it'll be categorized as something else. It says, can we add each other as friends on TikTok? I'll always support you. Who's that?
She looked
Navarra?
like some kind of bot account or something like that.
Say it again.
You know what? I'm being a jerk. I might not be a bot account, but that's just a weird thing to pop up and say out the blue.
People say a lot of
So
things.
this is true, and I'm fairly new to TikTok. It's only like my second week. So in regards to what you're saying, you're basically saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Proximity, opportunity, those are the things that allow these things to happen. Obviously, people tend to do things in places where they're less likely to get caught. So that's that part. But I don't. Where you went after that, you lost me.
Yeah, so what I was saying after that was just basically what I was saying in the beginning of it all was that that's what it is that people do when it's those type of actions they're engaging in. I'm trying to speak in a very PC manner about certain things of what it is that I'm saying
Right.
because I don't know what words, end up being flagged or whatever or lead for any form of shadowing, whatever. But I'm just saying, if you're dealing with the opportunity, who has the opportunity to do what it is that you're talking about, right? If I'm living in an area where there are more cars than not, then the idea of automobile theft is going to be greater in that area because the opportunity is greater. So, who and when are these things going to be done? They're going to be done more than likely at night because there's no witnesses, right? There's less witnesses and there's less people operating the vehicle. So there's so many things that's going to lead to the opportunity that people are going to take. So if I truly wanted to defend or protect these vehicles from said criminal, then I'm going to have to boost the measures, especially at night when most people are not conscious, to their surroundings and they can't protect their property because they're asleep. So I have to do something, whether it's a garage, whether it's a dog, whether it's an alarm system, whether I have to do something in my stead at that point in time. That's how I'm going to operate as a person who suspects somebody is going to do something to what I own. I'm going to put measures in place. If I'm really concerned about majority or half of the planet Earth, what are the measures I'm going to put in place if I'm suspecting every single man that I'm around? What's the measures that I'm going to put in place for that? Going on social media and saying it, that's not doing anything. But I'm going to work,
Well,
I'm going to school, I'm shopping, I'm driving down the road, I'm calling men to help, I'm calling men into my home to fix a leak. I mean, this is what I'm doing.
well, in that sense, there's two ways you could go about it. You
Mm-hmm.
can protect yourself, or you can arm yourself, right, with whatever it is that you need to, whether it's because you arm yourself with having men around you, you arm yourself by having a blick on you, you arm yourself by taking, I don't know, self defense, whatever. And that's one way to go about it, and that's the way that most women have gone about it for all of this time. And we see the numbers not very successful. The other way to handle it is to bring awareness to it and attempt to affect change in the future, which is
Right.
the longer process, but the better process. Because if you bring awareness to something, again, I'm taking it back to let's just say black people in Hollywood back when
In Hollywood, you said?
we weren't even allowed. Yeah,
Okay.
back when we weren't even allowed in Hollywood, and it was the YT actors with the shoe polish on the face. Eventually, to the point where we now have full uh, uh, studios and production houses that are completely black owned and black ran and black funded. So eventually, you have to start somewhere, and you have to see where it can take you. All the other efforts that they've taken to this point have not been as helpful, or have not been as helpful as they should be or could be. So raising awareness, changing people's perspective, raising our sons and our daughters to be better is the long game, but probably the better way to go about it. But I would also say that in the idea of you just got to be locked up and stay in your place where women aren't around men. Nobody would ever want to live that life, and if roles were reversed and that's what it was for men, we absolutely wouldn't accept that. We wouldn't just say, "Well, I just got to stay in this place over here and just not go over there." And we see that in pretty much everything. You still have black men who live in states that absolutely are not fond of black folks, and we still choose to go there. You have black people who migrated to Compton in the whatever year that was, when it was an all-white town, and they said, "No, I want to be here and I want to raise my family here, so I'm going to, despite what the difficulties may be." So, just in human nature, you're not. No one's going to just accept that I have to be over here and I cannot be anywhere else, and that includes women. So, while it is dangerous, I do 100% understand and respect and support why they do, in spite of being in fear, go out into these places and steal stuff, like stake they claim.
Yeah, well, I'm saying they don't because that would be engaging in profiling and it wouldn't make any sense. It's not even logical for if you wanted to just isolate black women. It wouldn't be logical for black women for decades to complain of racial profiling and then turn around and say, well, we engage in profiling by saying it's all, because that's what profiling is. They fit the description. What's the description? Male. Okay, that's good enough for me. End right there. Certain analogies that's used is the one about the snake. You think I'm going to take the time to figure out which snake is venomous or not? All right, well, let's apply that if that's an example of what's being used because it is being used. If you've ever seen a person in the snake pit, you know what they do? They remove themselves from the snakes. They don't remove themselves from three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. They just get out of the snake pit as soon as they possibly can, right? Because over the fact that they're under the impression that these snakes are going to harm them or have the potential of harming them. I'm pointing out the fact that the very same people who are pointing out these particular concerns that they have, They engage in intimate relationships with the very same people. They also work in the company of these very same people. They take public transportation with these very same people. And if these people are in any space or place where they were not found in great representation in number, they sue for the right to have the opportunity to work amongst them. And then not only that, now today they say they're outperforming those very same men who they're saying they're afraid of. So how could you have the potential of being afraid of these men, but then you want to go in a space where they are isolated away from you to outperform them and then brag about it in the face of men? None of that
Well,
leads to
various.
what fair looks like. That's not how fair is, or that's not even how awareness is.
Well, it happens like that for various reasons. And firstly, I'll be the first one to acknowledge the fact that that analogy is flatly stupid, right? But typically, when analogies like that are put out there, they're typically put out there by people who don't think much. Like little catchphrases you see on the internet all the time. If you think about them for about 5 seconds, just even a little bit critically, you're like, ah, this falls apart immediately. The thing about the snakes are always going to be snakes. You can't reason with snakes. You can't teach the offsprings of snakes to not be snakes. So that it's just not a good comparison. There is a reality, or there's a supposed reality, where in the future men do not act the same. They are not such a threat to women, and that starts with these conversations. So that's whoever came up with that, not very good. But on to what you were saying about them being in those spaces and outperforming and then bragging about it. Those women, well, first you can't avoid being around men. There's no profession that you go into that you're going to avoid men. There's just not a single solitary one of them. So you're going to have to pick one of them. And if there are professions that are typically more women oriented, they typically pay less. So there are a lot of women who have more ambition, or just because it's like, okay, let's say I want to go into, well, let's just take what I do for a living. I work in aerospace, and it's predominantly men, 100%. Like there's in my lab right now, there's only one woman who works here. Should she decide to not pursue her dream in aerospace simply because it's a predominantly male dominated space? It's kind of ridiculous. Instead, she should be able to pursue that, and she should be able to pursue it safely. So to suggest that, and like you said, they engage in relations with us, they live with us, their relation. Yeah, the same way that driving a car is remarkably dangerous, but yet we still do it on a regular basis all the time. There are various things that are dangerous to us that we still engage in. One, out of necessity, and two, out of the fact that maybe it just won't happen again. And sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does. There's plenty of women out there who have found amazing relationships with amazing men. That doesn't change the fact that their past is filled with horrible men that did horrible things to them. So both things can be true. You have to assume that it's all of them, but that doesn't mean it actually is all of them. You just have to proceed with caution. And I think that's a viable thing to do. If I go outside at night, I proceed with caution. Not because I know something is going to happen, but if something does happen, I'm at least prepared for it. That's just, to me, that's reasonable.
So let me ask you this. Saying you said the thing about proceeding with caution. I know you work at nights. When's the last time you've been out for a significant amount of time during the day? You there? You muted
Yeah,
up.
I'm sorry, I had to mute because people were moving parts around here. It was very loud.
Oh, no
Last
problem.
time I was out, just this past weekend.
So when you were out, did you see women moving with caution?
I don't know what their caution would look like, but I did see women moving about. They might have had a bag on them that had a blower in it. I have no idea.
So do you consider that cautious behavior? Something that you can't see.
I
You
mean,
don't think we should be able to identify a person who's moving cautiously between that and a person who's moving around comfortably? No, I get the background noise. But what I'm asking is about you don't think we could tell between a person who's comfortable in a setting, between we could tell the difference between a person who's comfortable in a setting and a person who's cautious in a setting? I think we could identify the difference between the two.
I don't think so, and the only reason reason why I say that is because, so my background, I'm from California and I was born and raised in gang culture. I'm very cautious everywhere I go, but I'm also extremely comfortable. Like, I'm not jittery, I'm not, nothing like that. But I'm watching everything, I see everything, I'm very aware. So those two things again can be true. If you're used to, which a lot of women are, being preyed upon by men, and men are everywhere, what I might perceive as you acting comfortable, you could still be cautious. You're just used to being this way and living this type of life, especially in like in a big city like Los Angeles. It's crazy.
Right, I got you. But a gang, I'm pretty sure that since you're cautious of the negativity that comes along with the gang, then you're not in one. But yet, and still, women engage in relationships with men. They give birth to men, boys. They raise them up. They become men. They love them. They go to their graduation. They're in the company of more and more and more and more men. And where is the idea that once you're separated from men, meaning they are in certain industries where you're not, why do you then gravitate to the industry? I'm not validating the point of saying they actually do outperform. I'm saying that's what they say. But I'm saying if you're in a company of other people, but then the thing which you rely on is performance based, and you say that you're performing better than them, that doesn't lean to fear or even discomfort. That leans to, I have an advantage over you for whatever reason, and I'm more than comfortable expressing my advantage over you. I'm accomplishing more than you. Now, people who are afraid of people because they just can't figure out who's who, it's a lineup of guys. And I don't know who among these guys are the good guy or who among these guys are the bad guys. So I'm going to assume they're all bad. Then there wouldn't be dating apps. Then there wouldn't be women going on vacation. There wouldn't be women having 3 or 4 summers. And then women supporting that in the comments in the hundreds of thousands, giving them advice on how to have a productive 3 or 4 summer. So I'm just pointing out the fact that there is an enormous amount, or overwhelmingly majority of women do not subscribe to this. It's foolishness. It's comical. It's laughable. Because if men were to say, I'm going to stay away from women, and then point out whatever it is that has happened wrong to them, and then say they're going to stay away from women because of those things, women are going to come up with derogatory terms for those men.
And they probably will, just like men come up with derogatory names for women when they say the same thing, because that's how that person feels. Because there's plenty of people on this planet who absolutely hate women. And I mean, for whatever reason that they have that, and that's fine. Do what you do, and women judge them accordingly, as do men. Um, but I cannot say I can't agree with you, because we all respond to things differently, and again, I have to go back to, I have to anchor the point to, nobody is going to be okay with just sitting in the house and or being removed from society and not being able to live their life. Nobody's going to be okay with that. So despite the fear, they're going to venture out into the world and do whatever it is they feel they want to do. And also, more to the point, um, a lot of people are dumb. Like, just flat out period. What is it? I want to say, oh, I don't remember anymore, but I think it's 7% of the American adult population thinks that chocolate milk comes from brown cows, right? A lot of people are stupid. So even if they do have that fear, they still may do the things. Plenty of men have fear of STDs, yet be out here raw dogging. Plenty of people, have fear of the streets, yet hang out in the hood. People are afraid of being robbed, but yet don't take the proper precautions with, controlling their identification, or for identity theft. Lots of people move in reckless ways, but that doesn't change the fact that they still have the fear of these things happening.
So let me ask you what you just said, sir. Let me ask you what you said, because you're making a good point. But wouldn't you say that that shows then they don't have the fear?
Not at all. Not at all. So, for an example, for me, just specifically for me, when I said it earlier, I grew up in gang culture. I actually was very much part of the gang. Years back, it was a New Year's party. My sister says, "Hey, let's go to this party." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm thinking it's a block party." She tells me later it's a house party. I'm like, okay, that's kind of crazy that you didn't tell me, but whatever, we'll go. And she tells me it's the ops. Like, oh, it's a blood party. At that moment, I had a decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
I was very aware of the fact that this could go bad for me. I wouldn't call it scared because that's just not how you are in that type of situation, like that, in that lifestyle. But I was definitely aware that this could go bad. This might be my last night being alive. I was very aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I still made the conscious decision to go. And that was a stupid choice because I definitely was in danger, but I also had fun and nothing happened to me. So it is what it is. So it's not a situation of just because you go through with something that you're not afraid of the situation. That's just not accurate. But you're not going to tell me that I have to live at night, but just a general. You're not going to tell me that I can't live my life and I have to live my life from a point of view of fear. Like, that's just ridiculous. Nobody's going to accept that. Throughout all of history, nobody's accepted that. But we want women to accept that? It seems absurd.
I like your choice of words. I want to see if Kay is ready to speak to the prompt or the conversation that Kay has heard. But you're saying nobody would accept that, and I agree. That's why I don't accept it. Because they're the ones saying it. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying they should be secluded. They're the ones saying that they live a life, and the life of which they live, they're in fear of all men because they just don't know who's who. Fear is going to act a certain way. Even with the example of what you gave, the particular party, and you said you wanted to emphasize that you were not afraid, but that you were cautious, you were on your P's and Q's, your head was on a swivel and everything else. Your life is not that party. So that was just a certain period in time of when you were there, and then that was it, right? And even while you were there, you took precautions to make sure that while in this vicinity, I got either people with me who are on my side, and then that's it. Because you did say you were invited, so I'm assuming you went with someone else who was like minded to you. And I'm gathering that in that party, you didn't find somebody from the opposing set to say, hey, you and me, let's go in this bedroom all alone together and let's do this 3 nights out of the week. That is just not behavior of people that are afraid of someone. People that are afraid, because that's a action word. We can describe it. We can describe a person who's in fear. We can describe it. A person who's cautious, that's behavior of what we can identify. As adults, we can look at somebody and say, what's troubling you? What are you so worried about? By the words of what you use, right? By your display. You could even be sweating. You could be clammy. You could be shaking. You could be nervous. You could be looking around often. How is it that the very same people, I'm only talking about the ones who say it, they don't represent all women. They don't even represent 2% of women. It's just the ones who are saying it. But the ones who are saying it aren't actually acting on it. They're just saying it. They're not separating themselves from society. They're not saying, all right, ladies, the ones of you who think like us, we've got this ship that we've chartered and we're moving to this own island and we're isolating ourselves. Those are people who are acting on that. There's such a thing called white flight. I'm pretty sure you sound like a man who knows history when it comes to those things. Those were people who were uncomfortable living in the areas where black people moved and they were white and they got up and they left. Whether they were afraid, the bottom line is they were uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if they're justified or not. They actually took action and they did something, which meant they separated themselves. They didn't go back to the community they left to go shoe shopping. So they made a clear difference to show a distinction between comfortable being around people and uncomfortable being around people. So if you're the one who says you're uncomfortable around all of these people, then act like it. And guess what you'll find out? They complain about themselves.
I can't really agree with that reasoning because when it came down to white flight, they didn't want to like us. They didn't want to be around us. But women, they would have preferred if we weren't violent or weren't harmful, that they could be around them and have children and have families and have relationships and marriages and things of that nature. So it's not. Again, I know I made the statement earlier that you can't, like, if you compare everything on every level, that you can't, but because you can't compare anything. But in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
those white people wanted to get away from black people. They didn't want to be. They didn't want black people to act a certain race so they couldn't be around them. They just didn't want to be around them, period. Because again, at that time in history, that's when we were doing the identity politics, where they were like, "Oh, if I dress away and I talk away and I look away and they're gonna respect me." And nah, that's not what happened. So a little bit different, but I'm gonna let that go because I'd rather Kay come up and say something. It's a different Kay this time.
Oh, that's funny. But I seen this. I don't know. I'll just call it a prompt or a subject. Subject's better. But yeah. What's the exact meaning here? Like, are all men bad until it's no men, or what?
That's the proclamation that the idea of harm coming from man, you can't differentiate who it is, so you have to suspect that it's all of them until it's none of them.
Okay, it's kind of hard to hear you though. You're very low.
All
Oh,
right.
my bad.
You hear me better now, okay?
You just fixed it, and then it went back to the way it was.
How about now? You hear me good now?
No, still the same. You fixed it when you first touched it.
All right. So, okay.
That helps.
All right. So what the thing is
That's better.
all right. So what the thing is that the assumption based off of men's behavior is that men are somehow, some way inclined to do harm to women, and women can't differentiate who's who because it's so many of them. So since it's so many of them, you have to be of the assumption that it's all men until it's no men. So by the prompt, I would think the prompt suggests that I disagree with that concept. I think it's clownish. It's foolish.
Oh yes, I do see the clown. Okay.
Yeah, you know. So, well, what's your take on it?
No, yeah, I guess I would be in the same position as you are because I mean it's just not true. How clearly not all people are bad.
Right.
So why do men first off would need to be singled out? And I get that there's a lot of female angst about it, but I don't know. I think you can kind of figure that out by just talking to the man. I mean, I had been having some easy times so far, and I don't know. First one was actually kind of weird though. The lady was acting like paranoid, but the other one wasn't. So I don't know. I guess it's just kind of 50-50. Like if you want to be fearful of someone and be paranoid with no evidence or history, then I guess that's your prerogative, but it doesn't make it right.
Yeah, and I would say this too. It's essentially the makings of a hate group. That's how a hate group operates. A hate group operates under the auspices of you identify a particular demographic of people and then you hate them. So why do you hate these particular people? Because these people mean threat harm to you. These people don't wake up and live life just enjoying life or going through their day-to-day lives like everybody else. Everything they do is they have it at top of mind to do something against you. That's how hate groups operate. And they won't have success, you know, end quote. They won't have success unless they're gullible, naive, stupid, dumb, insecure, whatever adjective you want to use, unless they're people who can be taken advantage of and easily misled. Because I've been pointing out all night, I've had a good conversation with Trips about it, but my point is that they're not doing anything about it. And the last thing I brought up was about people, particularly people who engage in what was known historically as white flight. Those were a particular group of white people who did not want to live amongst other people, black people predominantly. So they got up and they moved, right? But that's the action. Whether you justify it or not, whether you agree, whether you reason with it, all of that is irrelevant. It just boils down to the fact that I don't want to be around you, I get away from you. So when I don't want to be around you, I get away from you. I don't not want to be around you and date you, sleep with you, put myself all alone in a room with you. Like that's what's going on by the very same people who are doing it. I don't act like you. Yeah, what I'm saying, like if you're a woman and you're dating another woman, one of you are presenting yourself with masculine behavior, masculine energy. And then when y'all two are alone in an intimate setting, somebody's duplicating the anatomy of a man.
Mhm.
You got what I'm saying? So none of these stuff lead to fear, being highly cautious of. We just don't see it. Majority of the planet Earth is women, right? So where can a man go in just general sense? It has to be intentional, like football practice, right? That hockey game or something
Yeah,
like
what you
that.
were saying about hate groups earlier, I actually just witnessed firsthand in another discussion. It was really interesting because the guy started out fine, and then he just let himself get run over. It's
Right.
very weird.
What do you mean he let himself get run over?
Like, he just kept conceding on his position and, like, acting stupid. And if he was actually stupid, well, I don't know about that one, but he actually had a strong point to begin with, and that's why he was trying to defend it. But, I don't know.
Well, some people just aren't good at debates or arguing. They just, it's like, I'm here to present my point of view, not get jumped on. So
Right.
if you decide you want to hit me back, then, whatever, you got it. I'm prone to do that if the conversation is not a respectable one. If I'm constantly being cut off or over talked, I'm very quick to be like, y'all got it. I'm not going to waste my energy. But if we can actually have a productive, reasonable, logical, conversation, I'm here for it. Um, in response to what you said, just even if we're using the white flight situation and we're going back to a situation where it was dangerous for black people, for when in regards to white people, there were still plenty of black men and black women who pursued being in relationships with people who were a danger to them, i.e., white people. That is just what the nature of human beings. That doesn't change the fact that they're afraid or that they're in danger. It just flat out doesn't. I know that's the crux of the argument, but just in general, for human beings, we do not operate that way. When we expanded across the West, it was dangerous. We still did it. When we sailed across the Pacific or the Atlantic, it was dangerous. We still did it. When we went around, I forget the name of that cape, but is it Cape Canaveral? I don't know what it is, but the one that's on the southern tip of Southern America, and it's known as one of the most treacherous bodies of water.
Yes, I know what you're referring to.
But yeah, but we still traversed it, no matter how many people we lost in it. Like trying to figure out how to fly, trying to figure out how to get to the moon. It being a danger is never a strong enough deterrent for us to be like, we're just not going to pursue it on a macro and on a micro scale. So to say that women must move in that way to prove that they do actually say that they are afraid of something isn't necessarily a real thing. It goes against the very nature of what human beings do. And again, going back to that anchor, there's no way that they are going to just say, just because this is a danger to me, I'm going to seclude myself away from everybody so that I can have safety or peace. That's just not in human nature. It's just flat out not.
So you don't think people don't fly? You don't think there's people who have a fear of flying so they don't fly?
So of course there's exceptions to every rule, but the prevailing, I work in aerospace, there's clearly a booming business. I know that every time I go in the air, there's a chance that plane is going to fall, and I still get on a plane, as a lot of people do, just as people still drive, just as people still use drugs, just as people smoke, eat food. Everything is a danger to everybody, but you still pursue life.
So you don't see fear and danger as two different things?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You don't see fear and danger as two separate things?
I do see them as two different things, but one is indicative of the other, right? If there is no fear, then generally speaking, if there's no fear, there's no danger, then there's no fear. For someone to have a fear of something that is not dangerous at all, then that's called a phobia. That's an irrational fear of, and that's something that is a completely different talking point, right? Because if it's irrational, then there's no rationale to it, so it can't even be added to the conversation. But if we're talking about danger and fear, a lot of people will see that something is dangerous and still pursue it. I mean, alcohol came from rotten grains or rotten fruit or rotten potatoes or whatever the case may be, for the most part, fermented things. our ancestors, our caveman ancestors, 100% knew that rotten things could kill you, and yet we made alcohol, and it's a booming business to this day. Cigarettes kill us, and it's a booming business to this day. So just the idea of it being a danger or you having a fear of something doesn't preclude you from actually pursuing the things that you want to engage in. That's just not how humans work.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So if both you and I are in a plane, and I want to get Kay's perspective on this too. If all three of us are in a plane to what do they call it? Not bungee jump. What do they call it? Skydive.
Skydive?
If the three of us are in a plane to skydive, they open up the door, the two of y'all jump and I don't. Isn't that evidence of my fear?
100%, yeah.
So the if you jumped, even though obviously yes, it could be something that's dangerous, we had to sign a waiver to do it, but that would be signs of your courage, wouldn't it not be?
Courage can only exist in the face of fear. So
Right.
yes,
So
it
you
does.
conquered
It
the
does. It
fear,
is a
right?
But that doesn't mean the fear doesn't exist.
No, I'm not talking about the fear
Until
not
I-
existing. I'm saying I did something in response to the fear, which the fear took a hold of me. You did something where you got the upper hand of the fear. And now I would assume you're no longer afraid of it, right?
Nah, that's
That's
I don't-
not
I
a
don't feel
healthy
that's
assumption?
Because I'm using me because you asked me.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna be afraid until my feet touch the ground because I never know how any of this is gonna play out. But then once I hit the ground, I'm gonna be like, "Whoa, that was a rush. Let's do it again." And the very next time I go up, I'm still gonna have that fear because I still don't know what's gonna happen this time. The fact that there is a fear does not mean that I won't proceed with what I'm going to do.
Okay.
But that's how I operate, and I feel like based on history and based
Oh yeah,
on
I
how
agree with what you're saying. You
yeah,
face
based
fear.
on how we face fear and we go through with things. If we never did, we would have never done anything. We'd still be in our caves.
Okay. So now that we have faced fear, right? Well, so we'll use that concept. And the brother said, no such things, cavemen, total BS. Now that we have faced fear,
Okay, Snake.
and fear we've lost to it, to the point where we're like, hey, we engaged in these relationships, we thought everything was a bed of roses, and we ended up being taken advantage of, harmed, hurt, whatever the case may be. So then what do we do now?
We do what I'm assuming that you're well, let me not assume. What exactly is the question that you're asking?
The question of what I'm asking is,
And I'm not being facetious.
I got
I'm
you.
just really trying
No,
to
you don't
engage in
need
what
you
you're
don't need the caveats. We having a conversation. I get what you're saying.
saying.
What
There
I'm
be a lot of
asking
people
about,
sensitive on this app. My bad, bro.
don't worry about that. What we're saying is, and I'm going off of what you said. What you're saying is that you face the fear. That's the human experience, and I believe Kay agreed with you. We face our fear, and we do what it is that we need to do in spite of having that fear. So I'm saying, okay, so if that's the case that we're gonna go with, we face the fear. The fear beat our butt because over the fact that these men were dangerous. We still engage in relationships with these men. That's what they're saying. We went out to prom with them. We went out on a date with them. We married them. We had children with them. And they got the upper hand through harming us. So I'm saying, if when you thought you could trust them or conquered your fear or you were courageous, you lived amongst them, you lived with them, you dated them, you had one night stands, you did all of these things. And every single one of them, of every category, turned around and harmed you. So, what do you do now that you're making it globally known that the fear still exists? What do you do now?
Well, it sounds like I would avoid women in this context, because I mean it's kind of the opposite, which is ironic. They're paranoid that men are bad, but I've only been hurt by them. And beyond that, yeah, I mean I wouldn't want to avoid, but honestly, is it more logical to go off my own experience, or is it illogical to continue to give in to fear? I think would be a better point.
I agree. And let me
I
ask
don't
you a
think I want
question,
you to
Kay.
ever give
I'm
in to
sorry,
fear.
Trips. Let me ask you one question, Kay. You've had the relationships that you've had with women, correct? The relationships that you in your
Yeah, all
adult
sorts
life,
of kinds of relationships. Yep.
all sorts of kinds. But some of those women have harmed you in some way, shape, or form, correct?
Sorry, you're a bit low there.
I was saying some of those relationships, some of the women harmed you in those relationships, in however which way they did it, whether emotionally or whatever, right? So,
Yeah,
so the
exactly.
pain you suffered came from a woman, but that's because you only dealt with women. Is that true?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Straight.
So now, with that being said, out of women who you did not engage in a intimate relationship with, now this is just women, whether they had a locker next to you in school, whether they sat next
Right.
to you on the bus or flew on the plane, don't matter. Carpool, don't matter. What? How many of those women, just in everyday life, harmed you? Whether it was emotionally, physically, mentally, how many of them did that?
So, 80% seems too high, so I'll just say 70.
70% of just women in your common area,
Yeah,
just
in
sharing
general.
space with them,
Yeah.
harmed you in
Mhm.
somehow, some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, because I'm also factoring in like growing up and being around other social circles and stuff like that,
And people,
not just in public.
and so then people in those social circles, excuse me, that were women, they somehow, some way bothered you. Let's just say that, not be
Yeah.
redundant.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you acted upon these things?
No, but it's not like I could ignore it.
So you still engaged in being in the
Well,
company of these people?
like trying to have a good time despite their hostility
Okay, good. I like
rather
where
than
you're going with
hospitality.
this. Now, in all of what it is that they did you ever feel like they actually had the upper hand on you?
No,
So
because
you,
there's nothing they can do to me except humiliation or some other kind of social ritual. I don't know.
right, or isolation or whatever, right? So they could do
Yeah.
things like that. But you always felt you could respond if need be to defend or protect yourself.
Yeah, but
Okay.
women don't feel that way.
They don't feel that way. So they don't have the advantage that you have.
That's fair.
Right? So if they don't have the advantage that we have, and then they're being outnumbered because they're saying it's all of us can be a whole offensive or defensive line and run through any single one of them. So I'm still not seeing how is any form of credence to this idea. Now, all of this does not mean that they're not men who do something bad or wrong or harmful. That doesn't negate from the wrongdoing of these individuals. What it is just pointing out is that if you are in a place where there is something about it, what you're saying, and keep in mind, we can't speak for people. So while I'm vibing with Trips, Trips is saying, we had this fear, we conquered it. That's how we moved west. That's how we traveled the seas. We traversed the seas and stuff like that. But those are courageous individuals. Those are people who face things that someone else faces. Somebody goes, I'm going to go full steam ahead. Someone goes, let me get more information about it first. Someone goes, oh, hell no. And they go the opposite direction. Those are people who we would say are a coward, right? Though, I mean, there's terms for individuals who do stuff like that. But we're just going to say they were afraid, right? Even if we're respectful and say, hey, they had the right, they don't need to do it, so be it. But that still doesn't mean I'm going to put myself all alone with this person. Nobody around, nobody for miles to know what I'm doing all alone with this person. I'm going to engage in romance with this person. Then I'm going to turn around and go, all of them are scary and frightening to me. Again, we know of what fear looks like. Even when you said a phobia, this would lean more into phobia. I can get into where the genesis of this whole thing came from, this whole man's fear and everything else, and it has nothing to do with harm from men. It actually has nothing to do with it.
So your position is men didn't do the harm. So then why are they paranoid or being irrational about this?
Good question. My position is not that men didn't do the harm because men did do
Oh,
harm.
sorry, I must
Right?
have misheard you.
No, I got it though. I'm just saying that the way of how they're going about it is not based on harm. because they still conduct in society amongst men very happily, I might add, and brag
But
and put down men. I'm saying where it comes from is actually political. Because based off of the results of the 2024 election, when Kamala Harris did not win and Donald Trump won, women felt betrayed and let down by men. And immediately they started going to social media and media saying that we need to decenter men, men need to get vasectomies, men don't care about us, they turn their back on us, and we need to cut off all men altogether. All of this started at that time. That's exactly when it was that it started.
I, you gonna say something, Zoni, or
I don't know what zone he's on. But go ahead, Trips.
okay? I have to give strong pushback to that because there is a wealth of historical evidence that shows that men have always posed a threat and been a danger to women, and it's not even close. I will say that the last election was the breaking point because you had a man who was running, who was clearly has a history of saying and doing misogynistic things, who has a judicial history of SA cases, has a connection with the most prolific PDF file in history, and is a representative of a party that says, "Hey, we're going to overturn Roe v. Wade, which is now infringing upon a woman's right to their own body." And